Greetings everyone and welcome back. This is where we left last time. We have paginated data from our database, and now we're going to continue by providing the search criteria. For example, we'll activate the search. We have just the data fetched from the date that we provide until the date that we provide on the upper end. And right now we have the Laravel default pagination of 15 rows per page. So let's go ahead and start working on our reactivity on this page. So go back to your code editor. I'm going first into our partials. Here we're going to have some modifications that we can exactly know which column is being, for example, if we are sorting, we want to know which column we are sorting on and what is the direction of the sort that we are currently doing. So for that reason, I'm going inside my table head here, and inside the name, because we want to search on the name, email, and phone for now. You can add as many other such criteria or sort criteria that you want. But for example, we're only going to use these three columns now. And one thing I'm going to have is a class. I'll have a common class for all my search columns, and I'll call it all the header like that. And I'm going to pass search by. So if this name, we know that we're going to search by the employee name, or we're going to sort by the employee name. So I'm going to say employee name sort. That's the second class. And then something else I'm going to have is a data property. I'm going to have data, and this data I'm going to say the column class, and which I will say will be the same as the employee name sort, like that. And I'm also going to have another data, and I'll say data property, and this one will be the sorting column. And this one will be now the column itself, which will be the employee name. So I'm going to say just this. If you remember, this is our employees name, column name, and we're going to have that. After that, I also want to have an icon inside here. So immediately after the name, I'm going to have an icon. And let me just copy one of the icons that we have. I'll copy this one. I'm going to have it here just immediately after the name. I'm going to paste this one in, and it's going to float right. Okay, and what something else I'm going to say is rotate. I want to have it with a class of rotate, because after we click it, I will rotate it 180 degrees. So if it was upright, it will face down, and if it was facing down, this arrow will face up again. So I will have a rotate class. This class will be used to rotate my icons, and I will have another class called sort icon. And after that, I now have the icon itself. We can just say data ID I can have data ID is name. We can use it somewhere else. And then what I'm going to change is the icon itself. Going to have the icon itself being arrow, and initially it be facing up. So I'll have an arrow up icon like that. So I'm going to just save that and see if we have the icon. And sure enough, we have the icon, which is red for now. Just going to remove the denture color here and just say dark. I'll just say dark for my icon. So I'm just going to copy this icon. And if the email, I'm just going to paste it here. And here, this one will be email. And yeah, like that. And I'm going also to copy this class for my TD. I'll have it here, but now it will be employee email. I'm going also to copy the data properties. I'll copy this. I'll have on my email, but now to be email sort. And the column, of course, will be employee email. I'll copy the same for the phone. So I'll have it here as phone. So it'll be employee phone. And same here will be phone. And I'll copy the classes. I'll copy this class. I will have it here is phone sort. No, this one will be phone. And yeah, that one will do. And now then after the phone, I'll have my icon. I'll have my icon like that. This one will be font, but we'll still have an icon arrow up. So that's an icon of arrow pointing upwards. And now we have our arrows on our sortable columns, which is our name, email, and phone. So let's go ahead and see what else we need to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going back to my list file, which is this one, and here I initially had one argument for my get employee list. I'm going to add another argument here. I'm going to say this method should also have the sorting column. So I'm going to have sorting column, which will default to created at. And I'm also going to have another direction, which is another argument, which is the direction, which for now it's going to be descending, and the final argument will be the column class, which by default it's going to be as well as created at, like that. And then here, what we are going to do, we are going to check if the direction is ascending, then we are going to do something. We're going to rotate our icons. If you can remember, we have the arrows. So here I'm going to say if direction, the direction that we are getting. Remember, by default is descending, and if it's descending, the arrow is pointing up. But in case we get is ascending, so that it means the arrow should be pointing on the other direction. So in case we get the direction will be ascending, so it means that we should rotate our arrow to look the other way. So in this case, we're going to get the class that is being provided here. So I'm going to say the class name. So we're going to get the class name, then we're going to have to add going to add the class, and the class name is of course sorting. This class name will be having sorting, and what we do, the same class, we're going to find in the same class we're going to find the class name, which we say is rotate. If you can remember, we said the class name will be rotate, and we're going to toggle class down. So I'm going to just say toggle class, and the class toggle is the, don't worry, we're going to create this class. So we're going to add the class down if the class is not present inside this rotate, and we're going to remove it if at all is there. So we just toggle it. If it was there, we remove it. If it was not there, then we add it. So that we've modified our method that calls our employees from, that gets our employees from the database. And so we should also update some variables so that we can send them with our requests. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say let date from, and we're going to get the date from the date from input. So what I'm going to say, we gave the date from input an ID of date from, and then we can get its value and forward it as the date from. And this one should be like that. I'm just going to copy it, and I'll say date 2, and date 2 should be given as well as the date to input value, like that. Another thing I'm going to provide is per page, and per page it's going to be given by let me just say per page, it's going to be given by the ID per page, like that. We also have search, and the search parameter is also going to come from search input value, like that. And we're going to pass them into the request. So into the request, we're going to have per page, it should be per page. Per page, it's going to come from the per page, of course, and we're going to have search still coming from the search variable. We're going to have date from, come from date from, same as date to will still be coming from date to variable. And another property or another input that we have is the sorting column. So sorting column will be the sorting column, and then direction, of course, will come from the incoming direction, and column class will be, of course, the column class. Like that. So that way we have all our data that we need to send to the backend to search and sort our data in from the database. So another thing that we're going to need is the interaction on the clicks. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I am going to do the clicks on the these all the order header. So I'm going to listen to this class when it's clicked. So for me to be able to do that, I'm going to say I need to use body here as a delegation because I cannot access these elements of the partials direct as they are rendered by after the DOM has already initialized. And if we try to access the older header class directly after the body, after the DOM is already initialized, they will not get an effect. So we need to delegate from the body, then we get inside, and then we can get the older header class. So I'm going to say body, then it will be on click, but what we want to click, it's actually this class here. This is the class that we want to click, but we cannot reach it directly. We have to pass through the parent, and in this case the parent is the body. So here we're going to have a function. What we want to do when we have this class, so here I'm just going to have an event and put it inside an E, and what I want to do here, I'm going to say this toggle class, and class that we're toggling is sorting. So I'm going to say sorting. So if it has sorting, we remove the sorting. If it does not have sorting, we're going to have this sorting class injected inside this order header here. So next I'm going to have a sorting column, and it's going to come from the data property of the element which is being clicked, of the element with this class, and it's being clicked. I'm going to say will be the same, the column, the sorting column will be the same as this, referring to the clicked element. and it's going to be data and then the sorting column like that. I'm going to have the sorting class as well, and it's going to come from the data sorting class. And I'm just going to say let the direction by default will be descending. But if now this direction by default, if we have this class having a sorting, it means that it was clicked and we have to change the sorting direction to the ascending. So I'm just going to check again. If this class or if this element has class sorting, so if this dot has class sorting, then we are going to update the direction. So we're going to update the sorting direction to ascending direction like that. What I want to do now, I'm going to define the URL. So let URL be same as our original URL, which is this one here. I'm going to say let the URL be that. Then I'll go ahead and call my function, which is this one. Passing in the URL. So what I can do for now, let me just pass the URL. So I'll pass the URL, and then again I'll still pass the sorting column that I defined earlier, as well as the direction. These are required, and finally the sorting class. These are all required by our get employee list class. I mean the get employee list function that we use to fetch our employees from the database. So I can I'm just going to have this arranged and I'll put it here. So we can go and test this one out. And before we test, I want to have here, I just want to import some. I'm going to have, I'll say PHP like that. I'll say use. I want to use Carbon here so that I can set the default values for our, so we can set the default values of our start date and end date. And the way I can do that, I'll just go to employee model and I'll copy this one. If you can remember the Carbon, I'll be using Carbon to set our initial data. So inside here, I'll just say use Carbon like that, and placeholder remain. Here I'll put value, and the value will be the same as our value here, which is this one, and for the date 2 will be this one. I'll copy both, go back here, and here I'll also say value being the same as this. I'll use mouse cursor and I'll put the date there. I'll save, go back to the browser, I'll refresh my browser, and now you see we have the date from 06/01/2022 and up to the end of the month. We have from the beginning of the month up to the end of the month. So it means if we reload the data, then we have data from this date to the other date. So let's see if we can use on change. If we change this data, if we change this date here, if we're gonna get changed data inside our data table. So what I can do, I'll go back to my jQuery, and just immediately after this one, what I want to do, I want to say let me change some of this and see if we're going to get the corresponding data. So I'm going to say change of maybe this one, date from, or if we change date to, I'm going to say on change. I'll use on change event. I'll have function. Then I'll just call my function here without passing anything. Otherwise, everything is being provided for like that. So I'm going to have that. When that changes, just call my function to get the employee list. So save, let's go back to the browser, reload, and we have our data. I will try to change to something very weird. I'll change to 24. I think it doesn't reload. I'll bring in the console and see if we have an error. Okay, we don't have error, so let's try to change it again. Let's go to our network here and try to change this one to 24th, which is to, okay, it's sending the request, getting data. I'll try to change it to 25th. Still getting the data. So let's get to see what's happening, and let's get to see what's happening on our request here. And yeah, I think we have a problem here. This one should be an object of data, so should be like this. Should send it its data object with my input and values like that. So let me save it again, go back to our browser, try to reload, and I think we have to close that, go back again to the browser, try to reload. We have the data from 1st to 30th June, so I'm going to say I need data from 24th, which does not exist, so we don't get anything. What if I say I need from 22nd to 30th, which does not give me anything. So it means something is not working correctly. So I will change from first. So it's giving me from second 06, it's giving me data like that. If I go to 21st, it's not giving me any data. If I go to 18th, it's giving me data. If I go to 19th, yeah, so it's working correctly. Because if I were to go to my database here, so let's go and see what kind, no, this one, let's go and see what kind of date we have for our data. So I'll go to PHP my admin, of course the local one, PHP, no, localhost, then PHP my admin, localhost 8000, PHP my admin not found. Oh, want the other one. Or instead of this one seems to be taking some time, what I can do, I can just quickly print the create that on our data partials here. I'm just going to create another I'll copy this one and I'll say create that, and I'll have another column here which will be employees, and I'll just say created it like that. I'm gonna save that, go back to our data table, and you can see it was created on 20th. So our machine recorded it was created on 20th. So it means if we query something which was created on 21st, then we don't get anything. If we say we want for the 20th, then we get all the data was created on 20th, and on that date and below we get the data. But on after that date, it means that we're not going to get the data that we want. So that one works fine. We have 15 records per page. We're gonna check and try to change and see we have 15. So what I'm going to do here, instead of just sending per page is recorded, I'm going to say if per page is null, or if it doesn't have a value, then I'll send 10 as my base value or as my default value. I go ahead and reload the page, and we still have 15. I'm going to reload the page. We still have 15. So it means maybe our per page is not working correctly. Per page. Let's go and see what we called our per page is per page like this. So we're sending the wrong variable name, and I'm just going to say I have to update it to a per page. Try to reload the data again, and now surely we have per page, which is 10, which is the one listed here, and actually is the one yeah, the one listed there. And now we have the per page working. What we only need to do is to handle this. So, and the only thing we need to do to handle that correctly is just to have this one here and say per page. Also, when we change on that, we should as well call this method. Now I'm going to have 50. Seems not, it's not calling the method. 100 is still not coming. So per page on change. Okay. Yeah, we have a problem here. We don't need to have this. We don't need to have it like that. Save, go back here, reload. We have 10, we have 50, and our per page is now working correctly. If we say we need 10, we're going to get 10. If we say we need 50, we're going to get 50. So let's try out our sorting, and you can see if I have this one, I have it initially like that. Now I have Jack, J, and I have Yasmin, I have Professor Hassan. If I say I want to sort by name, now you can see we have Abigail. We have Abigail, like that. It's sorting by the name. Let me try the email, and you can see it's sorting by email. What about if I try by font? It's sorting by font, but it's not changing the direction of our sorting. And when we click on the second time, it should change the direction from our ascending to descending. So let's go and see how we can handle that. So here, what we need to do is to add the two classes, the rotate and the rotate down, that what we were toggling here. So we need to define these two classes inside our master page here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go down completely on my CSS, and here I'm going to add the two classes. I'm just going to say rotate, and I'll say this one should be mouse, and going to have a transition, then it will be a rotate, and I'm going to say rotate all 1 millisecond, should be 1 millisecond. Then I'll just do it linear. Then I have transition, more transition, and this one also it's going to be O. Then 1 ms still be linear, and I'm going to have now the transition itself, and it will be O, of course. It will be 1 ms, same as the others, like that. And that my rotate. Now I'm going to define my rotate, my down class, which will be inside the rotate class. So I'll have the down class here, and what I'm going to do here